Hey Space Watchers, this is Kelly Soverns for SpaceWatch.Global. I'm here at the Dark and Quiet Skies workshop in beautiful Vienna, sponsored by UNOOSA and SKA Observatory. With me right now is Aaron Boley. He's a professor at the University of British Columbia. He is also a co-director of the Outer Space Institute, and his other hat is a member of the International Astronomical Union's CPS Policy Hub. That's a lot, Aaron.
Keeps me busy.
Yes, I'm sure it does. So, Aaron, today you spoke on 2 panels. And I have to say, for the first panel, you blew me away with your hook. Your opening line was, policy makes possibilities.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk to you more about that. But first, can you tell us more about the IAU CPS Policy Hub?
Yeah.
And what are some milestones that you think that you would want to highlight?
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for that question. The IAU CPS Policy Hub looks to make sure that there is a pulse or finger on the pulse of what is happening with the new developments in the space sector, particularly within states, and how they are approaching issues of dark and quiet skies, how things such as astronomy are being affected, as well as broader society. And with that, there are many different possible ways forward. There are often consultations, and we want to make sure that the IAU has a voice in those consultations. And so we make recommendations to the IAU on how to respond. There's also things such as international foreign statements at the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. And this is where, once again, the Policy Hub can work with many others within the group and make progress on statements, visions for the future, possible ways that we could cooperate, coordinate together.
Thank you. That was a comprehensive answer, which I had no doubt I would receive. I want to talk about your Outer Space Institute hat now.
Yes.
And what you think options are for a regulatory environment, what your levers are for regulation, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So the Outer Space Institute is a network of researchers with many different backgrounds, all united to tackle grand challenges associated with humanity's use and exploration of outer space. Specifically in how possibilities for approaching this broader issue of sustainability, which dark and quiet skies is part of that. We're looking at quotas, the possibility of having credits and using those credits as something that's tradable. The issue at heart that I really want to emphasize is that many of the sustainability challenges have solutions that contradict each other. That if we try to solve one problem, we can make another part worse. An example I like to give is the casualty risk situation. And so one possible answer to avoiding casualty risk from letting things just re-enter uncontrollably is to have them demise in the atmosphere entirely. But then you're treating the atmosphere like a waste bin. And if you're treating the atmosphere like a waste bin, that's going to have other consequences. And it goes from there. And so we're looking at possible solutions that can be enacted, one individually, but also as a group to address the systemic and the system-wide issue that we're trying to, that we're facing.
That's very important. Thank you. And you have a very interdisciplinary line of work, planetary science, the meteor critics, the other types of research. So can you tell me how all of that influences your perspectives as you consider this problem?
Absolutely. I think a lot of it is driven by the curiosity and the exploration of outer space in the many different ways. And it's that multidisciplinary background that allows one to look at problems in different ways. When I first really became aware that there was a space sustainability challenge, I realized that things such as astronomy were not just being affected, but they're also a way to help then understand the broader issue and to help find solutions. And that things like planetary science, can be directly applied with the lens put on Earth and understand that connection between Earth and space. And so I think there's this broader curiosity with space exploration that naturally feeds into those who want to learn about the exploration, use of space, humanity's role in all the different aspects that I think can be one part of the solution of the problem, but also drives a lot of people to want to know more about it.
Thank you. Speaking of wanting to know more, I would like to know more about Agenda 15.
Yes.
And what you think you are hoping in terms of outcomes.
So Agenda 15, so this is within the Science and Technical Subcommittee of the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space. I think just having this agenda item is incredibly important for dark and quiet skies because it says, without question, that the discussion of astronomy and the protection of the dark and quiet sky with implications not just for astronomy, but also for all users of outer space, is a topic that should be discussed within the broader spectrum of space exploration. That astronomy is a very, very old form of exploring and using outer space. So just having the agenda item is already a major step forward. Now, moving from there, what do we do with it now that we have it? And that is where we need to have the conversations about what are the type of regulatory steps that can be taken? What are the type of agreements that can be taken, whether they're guidelines or something else? And this is where what I would like to see is that we have the so-called low-hanging fruit that we can address. There are some type of space activities that I hope that we could get around to say these should be at a minimum minimized, if not exist right now. And such as obtrusive space advertising, putting up formation flight of satellites specifically to blanket the sky with advertisements, or having sunlight as a service where you turn night into day on demand. And these are things that I think could be very, very disruptive. And the purported benefits that they bring are just not there. So I think there are some things that we can say, okay, these are issues that should have at least serious roadblocks for moving forward. Other things are going to be balancing interests, such as how do we connect the globe in ways that are equitable, that truly are solutions that are not being just put forward and greenwashed as solutions, while still enabling people to have access to the night sky and not preventing future generations from doing so.
You basically answered my next question, which was going to be a question about the long-term goals, for the Policy Hub, et cetera. And we're working toward a 2029 deadline.
That's right.
To have recommendations be made to COPUS with lots of milestones in between. And is anybody thinking beyond 2029 yet, or is that enough to handle?
Oh, yeah, no, we have to be thinking past 2029, so thank you for that. And in fact, one of the last sessions at this very workshop was thinking about how we move beyond 2029, not just what is going to be done at the next STSC and the rest of the agenda item. And this is where there are a couple different possibilities. One of them is the one that I hope certainly doesn't happen, and that is the agenda item ends and there's no further discussion. That, though, I don't think is going to be the case, fortunately. I think there are basically two possibilities. One, dark and quiet skies, maybe where something else gets elevated on a different platform within the COPUS, or to be paired with something else going on within the UN, such as at the United Nations Environmental Program Office, or it's put within the long-term sustainability guidelines, and where that gets renegotiated and has then longevity within COPUS as a result of that. Either way, I am hoping that, and I do think that there's sufficient momentum to see things beyond 2029. I just don't know what form.
Fair enough. I just have one last question. If you were to visualize what the solutions would look like for dark and quiet skies, and you were starting from scratch, and you were kind of stepping back in time, what would you do first? What kind of mechanisms, guidelines would you put in place?
Oh, that is a really tough question. Thank you for that. And ending it on that one, You know, in many ways, one could say that we saw this coming because there have been endless proposals for doing the types of things that we're seeing now. And we kind of sat on our hands and we're like, well, there's other types of forces that would prevent that from happening. I think if we had stepped back and we had tried to draw out the appreciation for the night sky early, that would be making a difference right now. One of the challenges that we face is that most people have already lost the night sky within where they live. They've not seen the Milky Way galaxy. And because the skies are so polluted, they don't see how they're changing as a result of the satellites. And so they don't realize what they're losing. And it is only when you take the effort to go out to a dark sky place that you can actually see this effect now. And so if there is, effort into putting a greater appreciation for that night sky. And I have to say, there was a lot that was put in there. So it's not fair to say there was no effort at all. But to understand that we can, in fact, change the sky globally and that we should not be doing that and make that connection to a broader group of people that could have changed the situation at least a little bit right now. With that said, a lot of this came from, or a lot of the current discussions actually stem from very early interactions with changing the sky through things like Project Westford. So this has been a long-going discussion. It's just the magnitude of the impacts have changed.
Okay, so what I heard is you would advocate for more awareness, some guidelines early on, and making sure that people understand what is at stake. Aaron, I wanted to thank you so much for your time, and we had such a good and interesting workshop here this week in Vienna. I thank you very much again, and Space Watch out.